I know I've filmed this property before, a few times actually, but if you'll notice, look at the Great Dane, the left-hand side of it, looking at it from behind. You'll see my trimmer hanging there. If you remember the Great Dane that I had before, it was the same way. I had made these trimmer racks. I got the idea, I looked online and I found, I believe they were made by Jungle Gym, and it's a set of trimmer racks, and they're not cheap by any means. But the reason I'd made them before is I had had some very, very large properties, even bigger ones than I have now. Um, and there are certain areas that are way out in the middle of nowhere that just needed trimmed. And you had to walk all the way out there to trim them and then walk all the way back. And it was just a big pain. It was just a big waste of time. So I had come up with an idea on how to make my own. I welded together some smaller pieces of steel, and then I put eye hooks in the bottom, and when I set the trimmer in there, I just wrap a small black bungee over top and reclip it to the eye hook on the front one and the back one. It holds it nice and firm, so there's no bouncing around. I don't have to worry about the shaft of it snapping or anything like that. But it makes a huge difference, and it's a huge time saver. So I was sitting in the garage messing around. I was actually rebuilding the carburetor on my four-wheeler, and I was looking for something, and I looked on the bench and I found a set of these trimmer racks that I had on these aren't the ones I had on the other Great Dane. They're the ones I had on the Laser Z Exmark Zero Turn. I had made a set for both of them, and the guy that worked for me full time that was running the Laser Z all the time, he would be able to hang a trimmer off there, and I could hang one off the Great Dane that I was running. I'm not sure what happened to the set on the Great Dane because I'd painted them yellow to match. These ones here are red, and they matched the Exmark. But anyway, I saw them sitting there and I thought about it, especially being solo, it would really come in handy to have this trimmer on there for a handful of pretty large properties that I do that have the same situation. And then especially when you get into the heat of summer, not everything needs to be trimmed every week. And it's just a big waste of time to walk around an entire property and trim stuff that doesn't need trimmed in it, and you can't tell a difference anyway if I even go over it with a trimmer. So for the few little things here and there that need it, you're still walking the property all the time just to hit those few little spots. So I figured, why not put them on this Great Dane? And that's exactly what I did. Now I had them bolted on the other one, but this one I just ground down the metal where I wanted them to sit, and I clamped them on, and I put one of my trimmers on there and got it fitted into where I wanted it to be, and then I just welded them on there. If I ever did want them off, I could just take a cut-off wheel on my angle grinder, cut right through the weld, and grind it down smooth and paint it. You'd never even know the difference, but I don't plan on this thing going anywhere. Now, would I weld it to one of my brand new mowers, like my Tiger Cat? No, I would definitely fabricate it up differently so that it looked a lot more professional if I decide to leave them on there and sell it. But it definitely does the job on this one. I guess the whole point of the whole thing is when you're in lawn care, it's not about what kind of truck you have, what kind of equipment you have, what kind of trailer you have. It's not about having the best of everything. It's all about thinking outside the box. It's doing what's going to work for you with whatever situation that you're in. Now, I could tell you go out and buy a dually and turn it into a dump truck like I did. I could tell you to go out and buy an enclosed trailer like I did. I could tell you to do all kinds of things. I could tell you to be like the guy that I see mowing in certain areas I'm in that pulls up with a 28-foot enclosed trailer and 4 mowers come out of it. I could tell you to do all this stuff, but none of it's going to matter for a couple of reasons. And one, because it might not necessarily apply to you, and two, it's not going to make your life really any different. It's your situation can be and probably is completely different than everybody that's mowing around you. What works for them might not work for you, and what works for you might not work for them. So you need to step back and look at your situation and think about what you can do to make your life easier, especially when it gets in the heat of the summer and it gets a lot harder. And let's face it, when it gets really hot out there and it's blazing hot and you have so many lawns to do and you just don't want to be out there, you're roasting, there's going to be times that you're not going to want to walk back to the trailer and get a weed whacker because you're mowing and you see a spot that you missed, or you're not going to want to do certain things and you're going to find yourself wanting to cut corners. I encourage you not to, but we all do it. Let's face it, I've done it many times. And I have some properties that are owned by banks or owned by realty companies that it's not, if I skip a week of weed whacking here or there, it's really not going to make a difference. I try not to ever do it because that's just the way I look at it, and I don't want to do that. It's more about me, I would say, when it comes to a situation like that. I don't want to do that type of work, so I make sure to not skip corners, but I have. And there's been times where it's 100 degrees, the dew point's over 70, and it's the humidity so thick that it feels like you're breathing in like chunks of air instead of air. Like you can't even breathe. You go through so much water in a day. And I'll pull up to one of those properties that's owned by a bank, nobody's lived in for a year, they're not doing anything with it, and I'll skip a week of weed whacking just because I want to knock it out and get out of there. And it really isn't going to make a difference. It's more about me having a problem with it. So what I'm really getting at is there's little things you can do to improvise to improve your situation, and you don't necessarily have to spend all the money. If you're mechanically inclined, if you can do things, in my opinion, anybody can be mechanically inclined. Anybody can fabricate stuff. Anybody can do any of these things that you see in my videos. It's just, I guess, having the nerve or having the ambition to just do it, to just try it. I taught myself how to weld. I'm always fabricating stuff. I'm always doing things. And a great portion of it I taught myself. And it's because, one, I hate relying on other people because they never come through. And if they do, it's on their terms, or they do one thing for you and you owe them 10 things in return. Or it's just waiting and waiting for something to happen when you know that you can, if you could just figure it out, you can get it done and it'll be done now. So you can do these same things. If you really don't have the tools, or you really don't have the know-how and you're not interested in learning how to do it, this exact thing that I have on this mower right here, you can buy them. They're made by, like I said, I believe Jungle Jim makes them, and you can add them to your mower, and it's just one more thing to help you. But all in all, guys, think outside the box. I guess this is, I can't really say this is more for the new guy, for the solo guy, or anything like that, because it can apply to anybody. Even if you have a large company, a small company, you've been doing this for years, or it's your first year. Sometimes you just forget to step back and think about how you can make your life easier. And this is just one example of how you can do exactly that. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate all the support.